Welcome, everyone. Welcome to How to Ask for a Promotion and Get It. My name is Jamie Lee. We have a lot to cover, and this is going to move really quickly. So, just a few pointers. If you want to take notes, I suggest taking screenshots. There are slides, and I want you to be able to pay attention to the content. And so, if you want to just really just absorb the content, don't worry about taking notes. Take screenshots. I will send a replay no later than by tomorrow. So don't worry if you have to leave, you won't miss it. I will send you the replay link by no later than tomorrow. And there will be Q&A. Please save your questions till the end. And I know you want to understand, you want to know how you and I might be able to work together. So I'll tell you about that at the end of the training. So welcome to How to Ask for a Promotion and Get It. I know many of you have been to career development webinars. You've been to so many Zoom webinars. You're like, how do I know this is going to work for me? How will I know? So I want to let you know that this is for you if you are an overachiever. How do you know that you're an overachiever? You're attending this webinar on a Wednesday, on St. Patrick's Day. That's how you know you're an overachiever. And you pride in getting things done. You pride yourself in getting things done. You love it. And you're perhaps a minority or a woman of color like myself. I'm an immigrant. I immigrated to America 31 years ago. So if that is you, this works for you too. And you are a woman who wants to improve your visibility, you want to have more ownership in your career, you want to get promoted. If that is you, this workshop, this webinar, this training is for you. So I want to tell you a little bit about who I am and why that matters for you. Okay. There is no graceful way to flip the charts here. I am Jamie Lee, and I help smart women like you who hate office politics get promoted and better paid without throwing anyone under the bus. What this requires is self advocacy. This requires self confidence. And I have had a lifelong training because my dear mother, who's also an immigrant from South Korea, she came here 31 years ago with three little girls in tow. I was about 7 years old. So you can do the math. I'm 39. And she told me all my life, Jamie, you got to speak up. You got to ask for what you want. You got to believe in yourself. You got to advocate for what you want. And so I have had a Monday morning quarterback all my life. I have had a lifelong training in self advocacy and self confidence from my mom. And I have had a career in technology, in finance, in procurement. And at one point, I realized women need this lesson. They need to learn how to communicate, how to advocate, how to negotiate for themselves. And so I became like my mother for other women. I became a negotiation trainer for working women. I started organizing workshops and leading interactive workshops all around the world. I've traveled to Rwanda, Toronto, Japan, and have led workshops for women so that they can build self advocacy and negotiation skills. And in this journey, I realized that what my clients really needed was also a strong mindset so that they can develop self confidence from inside out. Without the mindset, without the self confidence, the strategies and the tactics that I was teaching them weren't working. They weren't being applied. And that is why 4 years ago, I transitioned to specialize as an executive coach for smart women. And in my experience teaching negotiation, leadership, and mindset to smart and ambitious women all around the world, I have seen that thousands of women take too long to ask for the promotion they want. And instead of having conversations about what they want, they often overcommit to projects, to agendas, to tasks. They over deliver because they pride themselves in getting things done. And at the same time, they are under communicating their wants and their wins. And so the question is, why is that? Why are women taking too long to have conversations about what they want, about their successes, and why are they taking too long to get promoted? Of course, the answer is that it's uncomfortable to have that conversation. And so, what do you do when the conversation about a promotion, about your career development is uncomfortable? I'm going to share with you that this is a very common pitfall that many women fall into, many smart women. I have seen myself fall into this 3A trap myself. So I have experienced this myself where we avoid the uncomfortable conversation. And when we are avoiding uncomfortable conversation, we may be engaged in passive action. We may be engaged in a lot of research, a lot of just like trying to do the little things right, but not really like being seen, not really trying to get recognized or be heard, just like behind the scenes stuff. We're avoiding the conversation. And when we avoid the conversation out of discomfort, it often leads us to accommodating other people's asks, other people's agendas. Take, for example, if you do find yourself in a conversation with your boss, you might find yourself taking responsibility for the boss's feeling. Like, I can't have the boss feel uncomfortable. So I can't have that conversation about what I want. Or the boss is like, hey, it's been a difficult year, with the pandemic and everything. And you're like, yeah, yeah, of course, of course. So then you don't ask. You don't engage. You say yes, you accommodate, you give in, you say yes to whatever they ask of you. But of course, when you are avoiding and accommodating, you do want what you want. It's just not being addressed, it's not being expressed. And when you don't address, when you don't express what you truly want, underneath there is resentment and it grows. And one day you end up attacking. But of course, for a lot of women here, and for most people that I have worked with, we don't attack our bosses, we don't attack our colleagues. We have to end up attacking ourselves. We turn that anger and frustration around to ourselves and we blame ourselves. We judge ourselves. We say, "Oh, I'm not good enough. Oh, I need to do this. I'm so far behind." All ways that we attack and beat ourselves up instead of building ourselves up. Yeah. And so then this becomes like this recurring pattern where when out of attacking, so maybe you're experiencing a negative emotion like feeling inadequate or shame or guilt. So then we end up avoiding again and accommodating again, attacking. And so then it can feel like a trap where we're stuck. And when we're stuck in this 3A trap, the conversation about the promotion, the conversation about what you want can feel like an interrogation, an impeachment, an indictment. And of course it does because you're attacking yourself, right? When you're attacking yourself and judging yourself, of course we're going to have the perspective, the mindset. This conversation is going to be something that is really difficult, something that is really hard, something that's going to make us feel small and judged. And so then we just keep avoiding the conversation even more. Now, at this point, you just got to ask yourself, why do we keep doing this? And there is a very simple answer. The reason why is because we have highly developed, evolved brains that are trying to protect us from failure, from the fear of failure. The human brain simply doesn't want us to experience rejection, the pain of not getting it right. Because I'd imagine for many of you, including myself, we are overachievers. That means that we were really, really good students. And when we're really good students, we are taught, we train ourselves to avoid failure at all costs, right? We're trying to get the A, we're trying to do it right, we're trying to get it perfect, we're trying to ace the class, not fail. But in your career, It requires the courage to go for the failure, go for the risk, take risk, put yourself out there. But when we are buying into the brain that doesn't want us to fail and therefore creates the emotion of discomfort, and when we let that discomfort hold us back from taking action, engaging in conversations that's going to drive our careers forward, we often buy into comfort fallacy. Comfort fallacy sounds like, oh, I need to feel comfortable to have that conversation. I just want to feel comfortable with what I've achieved so that when I go to that conversation, it's okay. Like, I want to make sure everyone's comfortable. I want to feel comfortable. If I need to feel comfortable, and of course, when we wait to feel comfortable, we never feel comfortable. We don't feel quite comfortable enough to start to engage in the conversation. Also, this looks like perfectionist fantasy. We think, oh, if we achieve that specific milestone, if we get that really difficult project done and check off all the boxes and impress the people, impress everyone, if I am perfect, then it'll be comfortable. Or maybe I won't even have to ask. They'll just give it to me because, hey, my work should speak for itself, shouldn't it? Right? That's perfectionist fantasy. And another way to describe this is Tiara Syndrome. Tiara Syndrome is believing that if you keep your head down and continue to do good work, people will just notice how good you are. Kind of like a Disney princess, right? You're doing good work. You're not bragging, and so some powers that be are going to anoint you with a tiara. But we all know this never happens. I once bought into the Tiara Syndrome. I was very early in my career. I was a procurement agent at a startup. And I came up with a plan that was going to save the company $100,000. $100,000, yeah. And I thought, oh, $100,000, this is so much money. Of course, they're going to award me with a promotion. I don't have to say that I want it. I did something so amazing. This is $1 million company. I'm gonna save the company $100,000. Of course, I'm gonna get promoted and I'm gonna get a raise. And lo and behold, did I get a raise? Did I get a promotion? No, because I was buying into a perfectionist fantasy and I thought somebody's going to anoint me with a tiara. It never works that way in the real world. You have to ask. You don't get what you deserve, you get what you ask for. So, what happens? What do you have as a result when you buy into the comfort fallacy, or the perfectionist fantasy, or the Tiara syndrome, and you let the brain hold you back from taking courageous action because it's giving you discomfort to have you avoid any sort of rejection or failure? What do you have as a result? This ultimately creates lacking experience in advocating for yourself. And when you don't have experience advocating for yourself, then of course you don't have confidence in advocating for yourself. Confidence comes from taking action. Confidence is a result of taking action. And when you don't have confidence. And so, without this confidence, without this experience, you also don't know how to be gracefully assertive when people are difficult, when people are pushing back, when people are saying no. You don't know how to be gracefully assertive and respond in a way that retains your authenticity, your integrity, but you standing firm in what you believe and what you stand for. And so, of course, then you feel stuck. You feel stuck because you're accommodating, maybe you're avoiding, and you're kind of attacking yourself. You feel stuck in middle management. You feel like, I can't move forward. And so then you may be thinking about quitting. Yeah, thinking about like maybe if I go elsewhere. And so what this creates is a sense of not enoughness. Not enoughness, like I need something else. Again, this is another variation of fantasy, the perfectionist fantasy, that if you had something else, it would make it comfortable. It would make it okay for you to ask for the promotion. And I'm here to tell you the truth. Here's the truth. You do not need more education. You do not need another certification. You do not need another degree. You don't even need a formal evaluation process. You don't need a different boss. You don't need to prove yourself. You are an overachiever. You are somebody who overcommits. You are somebody who overdelivers. You do not need to prove yourself. You do not need to sacrifice more of your personal time to get promoted, to ask for that promotion and to get it. And I know this from firsthand experience. 6 years ago, when I was working at a tech startup, I was a director of operations and I didn't have a technical degree. I didn't have a business degree. I have an East Asian studies degree, by the way. I didn't have a formal evaluation process. My boss was not very involved. He wasn't very interested in like nurturing my career development. It's okay. He was a great guy. He just wasn't all that involved. And I did worry. I did think, oh, maybe I need to be doing this, and maybe I should do. I had the thought, but then I remembered the things that get you promoted are in your control, 100% in your control. Yeah. And that is why I took and implemented my 5-step process to ask to be promoted to senior director, to ask for additional headcount, and I got to pick the person that I wanted. All because I just remembered, oh, yeah, no, asking for a promotion, that is in my control. And that applies to you too. Asking for a promotion is 100% in your control. And when you realize that, you can implement this 5-step process. First, you assess the impact of your contributions. Second, you decide for the results that you want. You make decisions for what you want rather than making decisions for what you're trying to avoid out of discomfort. This is a big and important distinction. You have conversations. You be a human and have conversations with people. You apply, you ask for what you want. You ask for the promotion. You ask for the project. You ask for additional resources. And very importantly, you have to honor commitments to yourself. So let's dive into each of the steps, each of the 5-step process. First, you have to assess the impact of your contributions from a neutral perspective. Often, when we are overachievers, we're always thinking about what else needs to be done. What else have I not yet done yet? So, our perspective is skewed. We don't have a very good idea we don't have a clear idea of how we are benefiting ourselves, how we are benefiting the team, how we are benefiting the company as a whole. And so this is the step that I walk my clients through. I help them see from a neutral perspective, what is the immediate benefit of your contributions? What you do, how does it help the project right away? And beyond benefits, beyond just getting the work done and being able to hand it off to the next person, what is the benefit it has beyond you? What else becomes possible because you got the work done? You got the immediate contribution, the immediate benefit available. So let me give you an example. A client of mine is a mechanical engineer and she works for a biotech company. And she was telling me that her contribution was sort of like being a MacGyver in the company and coming up with efficient, elegant solutions to complicated technical problems in a very cost efficient way. And because she was able to come up with these MacGyver like solutions, the company, the team was able to meet its deadline in terms of project milestone, and the deadline was a promise that they had made to the investors. And because she accomplished the immediate benefit of helping the company meet its deadline. The beyond benefit was that the company, the CEO, was able to tell the investors, demonstrate to the investors that they are a reliable company, that the investors can trust the word that the company executives give to its investors, right? So it raised the profile, it raised credibility of the company, it raised the credibility of the executive in the eyes of the investor because my client contributed her solutions to the problem. So you want to be thinking about your contributions not just from a perspective of, oh, I have all this other stuff to get done, but like what has gotten done and how does it impact, how does it benefit this company, the stakeholders, the clients, the customers. Yeah. And so this requires you to think about your contributions from a bigger perspective. And when you do, right, the perspective of your boss, your executive, the clients, the investors, other people, and when you do, you're able to validate your contributions. You're able to self validate the progress you're making without needing somebody else to tell you that it was good or something. That you don't need to wait for external validation. You validate yourself. And when you do, you're able to celebrate your wins, you're able to celebrate your contributions and the impact of that. And when you do that, you're able to receive and take in credit that people are giving you. This is something that I notice my clients do when they do receive and take, when they do get credit from other people, when they're in that overachiever mindset of like, oh, I still need to get more done. I need this and I do that. They discount the credit, they discount the positive feedback that they're already getting. And so we turn this around by assessing from a neutral perspective the immediate benefit, the beyond benefit from a bigger perspective so that you can self validate and celebrate. And when you do, you're able to really receive and take in credit that people give you. And this is key because how can you claim credit? How can you claim value for yourself when you're unable to receive the credit that's already coming your way? This is the key step that has you being able to claim value for yourself by first assessing the impact of your contributions. And when you do this, let's just quickly revisit the 3A trap, right? Avoid, accommodate, attack. The way out of the 3A trap is from you being able to assess your contributions, assess where you are, the progress you are making, because this leads to, I guess, a fifth A, awareness. Assessing where you are and becoming more aware of the true impact of your contributions help you step out of the 3A trap. And from there, we want to be making some decisions, some powerful decisions. Again, you want to be making decisions for the results that you want. So this is a diagram of like, here you are, and this is where you want to get to, the promoted self, the future self. And of course, we can anticipate there will be obstacles along the way. But the name of the game is asking yourself, how do I grow into the person who makes this promotion happen? How do I grow into the person who can prioritize, who can come up with strategies to overcome obstacles and communicate her wants and wins as the person who is promoted, like the person who is promoted? In other words, how do we step into this future self sooner rather than later so that we can authentically demonstrate our readiness to be promoted? And so this requires you to think about from the perspective of the person who is promoted, somebody who is calm, confident, competent. How is this person thinking about herself? How is this person feeling about herself? How is this person prioritizing her day so that she only focuses on what is essential, what is important, and what is going to help drive her journey forward, right? And what are the strategies that she employs? And how does she communicate? How does she engage in powerful conversations? So that leads to step number 3. You got to have conversations. You got to talk to people like a human being. One of my clients, Charlotte, you're going to be seeing her video testimonial soon. Charlotte engaged this strategy to not only build her social capital, her network, but also to create more clarity for the career direction that she wanted. When she first started out coaching with me, she wasn't sure. She wasn't sure exactly how she wanted to be promoted. She wasn't sure how she wanted to grow in her career. And so she engaged in many informal conversations with her boss, with a potential mentor, with somebody in her network, with people who can help her, just people she already knows. Like she's already connected to them. She already knows, she already trusts them. So she just started having intentional, thoughtful conversations about, hey, I've assessed my contributions and these are some of the strengths that I bring. I'm interested in growing. What are your thoughts? What have you seen to be effective for somebody in my situation? Like, what would you do? What advice would you give? Right? So she's just engaged in curious, open, informal conversations with as many people as possible. And through that journey, she created evidence for how she can grow. And then she talked to people who were doing things, and that inspired her to think about, oh, you know what, one day I can be a leader in this space. And now I have a clearer idea. First it was general, and then it became a clearer idea about how she wanted to keep driving these conversations forward intentionally with the decision maker, with her boss, and with other people at her company. So the key thing here is you must have conversations. Be a human. Talk to people. Tell them you're interested in growing your career. Listen to their feedback. Be willing to take advice. Be willing to get help. And you must do it before the formal evaluation, especially if you want to have this conversation with your boss, at least 6 months before the performance evaluation. And I really encourage you, I beseech you to start having these conversations before you're ready. Because when we try to wait until we're ready, we're just buying into this comfort fallacy again. That somehow, if I achieve another milestone, somehow, if I do a really good job at this other project, and then I'm going to feel ready. Yeah, I'm going to feel more comfortable. We wait when we think that we should wait until we're ready. We wait to have the conversation. And when we wait, that ready just becomes further and further out. When you think, oh, once I achieve that milestone, then I'm going to feel ready. Once you get there, you're like, oh no, I have another milestone. That milestone just moved further out of reach, right? This is what always happens when we wait until we're ready. So don't wait. Start having conversations. It's just like you being a human and having a conversation with another human. And remember that getting on their radar, especially with leaders, especially with senior managers and people who are, in a higher position of authority, getting on their radar is not about like, pick me, right? It's not about being arrogant. It's about helping them. Because when you have assessed the impact of your contribution, and when you are clear on the beyond benefits, you want them to know because they want to know. When they understand how you are making impact with your contributions, it helps them do a better job. A client of mine works in life sciences, and she first resisted the idea of getting on the radar of other leaders. But then I asked her, how could it help the leaders if they knew about the work you're doing? And she said, oh, yeah, totally, it would help them because they would know the work that's being done on the ground, they can talk about it with stakeholders and they would know that they wouldn't have to worry about it. And yeah, it helps them. So getting on the radar, having conversations with potential mentors, with people who are in a position of authority, it helps them do a better job. Okay, so once you have had multiple conversations, you want to apply. You got to ask for the role that you want, right? And only three things will happen. Either they'll say yes, you get the role, you get promoted, or you're told no, or they share their thoughts with you. And when they do share their thoughts with you in the form of feedback or in the context of a conversation, what you want to do is simply listen without giving up. Listening is not conceding. Listening is not saying, oh, you're right, I'm wrong, I shouldn't have done that. No, listening is staying engaged in a human to human conversation. You don't have to take blame, you don't have to give blame to stay engaged and listen. And this is a key skill that I help my clients learn and apply in my coaching program so that they can stay engaged, so that they can continue to advocate for the change that they want, the growth they want, and also negotiate even with difficult people. And when you hear people's thoughts, you can get curious, not furious. Ask curious questions. Okay, so if you don't feel that I'm ready for a promotion now, what would you need to see from me? Like, what measurable, tangible results can we establish together so that we know that I am making progress and I am growing in the area that you think I need growth in, right? So we're going to problem solve as your future self would. All right. So when you do this process, the next thing is you have to honor commitments to yourself because you may not get the promotion the first time you ask. Most people don't. And that's okay. That's great because when you ask for the promotion and you get a no, it's a sign that you took a stand. It's a sign that you advocated for yourself. It's a sign that you're growing your capacity to advocate, to stand up, to speak up, right? To be a leader. And so, in this process, you want to stay committed even when at first they say no. My client, Roseanne, she works at a COVID testing facility and she got no's for the first 3 times she applied for a higher role. But she didn't give up because she was committed to her growth, committed to herself. And so, when you are committed, it means like you keep making a choice over and over again. Think about in the context of being married. When you are married to a person, every day you stay married, you make a choice to stay married, right? And so when you are committed to yourself, you want to keep making that choice to choose courage over comfort. It's not comfortable to ask for what you want. It's, especially if you want to avoid failure, if your brain is telling you that you shouldn't take action until you're comfortable. Of course you're not, but so the solution is you want to choose courage and keep choosing courage over and over again. My definition of courage is doing it afraid. You want to choose discipline. You want to stay focused. There are going to be distractions. There are going to be difficult people. But how do you stay focused on the result that you want? How do you choose discipline to stay focused on your strategy, on the most important thing that's going to help you drive that strategy to move forward towards the promotion, right? And you have to choose resilience, choose resourcefulness. And so these key skills are really about emotional resilience, about emotional agencies. Emotional agency means that you're able to stay in authority, in control of how you feel in your journey to get promoted in your career. And in this journey, You want to choose to reward yourself, not reprimand yourself. Build yourself up, not beat yourself up, right? Okay, so those are the 5 steps in the framework. And here's why this 5-step process works. When you assess your contribution, the impact of your contribution, this is a skill that leads you to building belief in the value you bring now. And when you build belief in the value you bring now, you're able to articulate your value with clarity, with conviction, with confidence. You're able to be compelling when you talk to people, when you have conversations about the value that you bring. And people want to feel compelled, people want to feel inspired by a potential leader. And when you decide for the result that you want rather than the result that you're trying to avoid, you, of course, build self confidence because you decide not just how you're going to proceed, but you decide how to see yourself on purpose. This is the definition of self confidence. And we want to see more self confident leaders. Organizations want to see self confident women step up, ask for the promotion, and they want to reward self confident leaders. And from having self confidence, you have conversations. And in the journey, in the process of engaging in a series of conversations, big and small, with many people, you build evidence for how you can do something, how you can grow, how if it is possible for somebody else, it is possible for you too to become a senior director, for you to become VP. Yeah. And of course, you got to apply for the role that you want. And when you do, you build your self advocacy skill with experience. You have real experience speaking up, taking a risk for what you want. And that is what builds self advocacy skill. And that is what ultimately leads to more confidence. And most importantly, when you learn to honor commitments to yourself, you build integrity as a leader. The world needs leaders who honor their word, who honor commitments they make to their stakeholders, to people who are in their team, to their reports, right? And that starts with you being in integrity with yourself as a leader, honoring your commitments to yourself first. So that is the training. I want to give you an opportunity to start building these skill sets right away. And, and that's because every single day that goes by is an opportunity for you to speak up. Every day that goes by is an opportunity for you to have courageous conversations. Every single day is an opportunity for you to advance your career. So waiting to develop these skills, waiting to build on this is waiting to get promoted, waiting to actualize your potential for greater impact as a leader, waiting to actualize your potential for greater income. Yeah. Worse yet, it's waiting to have more equality in the workplace. Because let's face it, the racial gap, the gender gap in leaderships across organizations, they're not going to close themselves, not without you making your mark as a director, as a senior director, as a VP, as an executive. And when you do, you not only benefit yourself. Of course, you benefit yourself, right? When you get promoted, you get what you want, but you benefit your family. You benefit people who depend on you. You benefit your legacy, the legacy that you leave behind. You benefit the folks who follow in your footsteps. You benefit people who are looking to you as an example. People and women who, or women of color, who are looking to you as an example of what is possible. You benefit your organization. Organizations need smart women in leadership now more than ever. Organizations need women of color and their perspective now more than ever. Yes, we do know that there is a lot of work to be done in terms of closing the gender wage gap, the leadership gap, the color gap. But at the same time, let's acknowledge that there's never been a better time to be a working woman who has ambitions. There's never been a better time for you to ask for the promotion you want and get it. Think about it. Just 50 years ago, 50 years ago, it would have been impossible for a person like me to be a coach, a person like me to help other women like you. It would have been impossible for me to be here in America. It would have been impossible for me to have a career. We are right now living the dreams of our foremothers. We are right now living the dreams of our grandmothers who couldn't have jobs in corporations, who couldn't have jobs inside organizations. So I want to tell you, today is the day to get started on building this skill set. Starting on these skill sets today is the single most important thing you can do for your career. And not only because it benefits you, because it benefits all these people. And ultimately, when you benefit all these people, you benefit the world. That is the stand I take. When women win and rise, the world wins. Because when our boats rise, the tide rises for all. And so I want to give you an opportunity to get started today. I want to tell you about my coaching program. My coaching program is designed to set my clients up for success. My coaching program is designed so that my clients have weekly accountability, they have consistency on applying the framework and growing these skills so that they get to stay on track to tangible results, like getting promoted, like getting a raise. Like just this week, I celebrated 3 clients who are making more money in their careers through coaching. I have a client who asked for a salary increase. She renegotiated a job offer. Just because she asked, she earned $10,000 more as a scientist. I have another client who just hit the ground running this week at a new job, at a higher paying job because she asked for it. I have another client who, put herself up for an award with a cash prize because she asked for it. You gotta ask. I'm gonna help you stay on track to these tangible results. And what you get in this coaching program is you get neutral perspective from me. You get my perspective from a leadership and negotiation expert for women, and you get 100% confidential safe space that is solely designed for your personal and professional development. So that is why the program is 6 months long, and you get weekly hour-long Zoom meetings with me one-on-one. And in each session, we celebrate your wins, big and small, right? We flex that muscle of self-validation. We assess, we make decisions, we strategize for communication, for prioritization, for overcoming obstacles, right? And we strategize how you can put your best forward, how you can best advocate for you and the value you bring so that you honor the commitment you have to yourself for growth. So you get both mindset and strategy, and you get implementation support from me, somebody who has worked in this space for 10 years, helping women get promoted and better paid. And in between sessions, you come back, you take action in between the sessions, and you come back, and then I help you evaluate what went well, what didn't go well, what are we going to do differently next time, so that each time you take action, each time you engage in a courageous conversation for the growth that you want, you know how you can grow. So it's a continuous growth opportunity. So before you make the commitment, before you commit to coaching, I invite you to a one-on-one consultation, because I want you to have a custom coaching plan for your specific situation. I want you to be able to see how you can apply this 5-step framework to your situation. I want you to have a firsthand experience of this 100% confidential, safe space. And also, very importantly, before you invest in your growth, before you invest in your career development, you want to ensure that coaching with me is a slam dunk fit for both sides, for both me and you. I am looking to work with women who are all in on their growth, who are all in and committed to getting promoted. And so I invite you to book your consult today. You can go to calendly.com/JamieLee/consult. And you also should have received an email by now with the link to book your consult today. So you don't have to type it in. If you got the email, you could just open the email and click on that link to book your consult today. And here's what you get when you go to the link and book your consult. You will get a confirmation email from calendly.com with the Zoom details. But if you go there and you don't see a time that works for you, then you just send me an email. Here's my email address, jamie@jamieleecoach.com. Send me an email. Let me know some 3 dates and times that do work for you, and we will make it work. You will get 60 minutes of my undivided attention. And in this conversation, I will guide you through an intake so you know exactly what are the results that you have now. Why isn't it working? Or what if it is? If it is, then why is it working for you? And then we talk about the result that you want to have and the impact of that result. And then I will help you create a custom coaching plan so you know exactly how you can make this 5-step process work for you. So at this time, I will also take questions. So if you have questions, go ahead and enter it into the Q&A box. Nicole says, don't wait until you're ready, really resonates with me. Women do this so much more than men. We've just got to jump in and do it. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Okay, so Kelly asks, I want to get promoted. But when I think about asking, I start second guessing myself and worry that maybe I haven't done enough. So let's just notice that maybe I haven't done enough is a thought. And who gets to decide that you have done enough? And it's going to be really tempting to say, oh, other people, my boss, the people who make decisions, right? But also notice that no one is telling you right now that you haven't done enough. And I want you to notice, like, when you tell yourself, oh, I haven't done enough, what actually happens? What is the behavior that you engage in, right? And when you think, oh, I haven't done enough, you don't engage in conversations. You don't um, you don't advocate for yourself, right? You go into the 3A trap. You avoid the conversation, and maybe you end up taking on more work that isn't necessarily helping you drive your career forward. So when you think that I'm not doing enough, what most often happens is that we end up doing more of what we don't really need to do, what isn't really essential to our growth. So when we do more of the stuff that isn't actually needed, then of course we end up with not having enough of the actual action that drives your career forward, right? So I guess this is a roundabout way of saying, okay, what is it that you're actually not doing enough? Are you assessing your contributions enough? Are you making decisions for the results you want? Or are you avoiding making decisions out of the fear that you haven't done enough, right? So notice when you say I haven't done enough, it's like you make other types of decisions, right? And are you having conversations? And my guess is no, you're not having conversations, right? So I have a tool, I have a coaching tool that helps to unwind these limiting beliefs. Like I might not have done enough is simply a limiting belief that keeps us stuck in a pattern of behavior that just creates even more not enough conversations, not enough experience advocating for ourselves, not enough neutral assessment, not enough self-validation, right? So I have a simple tool that helps my client unwind these limiting beliefs. And we start from session number 1. So we start from session number 1. How do we unwind limiting beliefs? And then from there, what is the action that we want to take so that you can start building more proof that you are taking action towards the result that you do want, which is growth. So, just notice that when you tell yourself that you haven't done enough, you delay taking the type of action that moves you forward, and you take more action that keeps you stuck. And, what I want to offer is you just get to decide. You just get to decide that, you know what? Maybe I have done enough. No one's telling me that I'm not doing enough. So I can start right now to start implementing this process, to start having conversations, start showing up for my future self, to start showing up and being committed to the growth that I want. Starting right now is the best thing that you can do. Okay. So what is a good response when you ask for a raise promotion? The first thing your boss says is you need to work more. So my suggestion is, again, let's stay engaged in the conversation, just like I talked about earlier in the presentation. You want to get curious, not furious. Ask, okay, what would be working more? Like, how would you know that I have done more or sufficiently, right? And so um, again, this is the skill of staying inside the conversation, not quitting the conversation, listening, getting curious, and problem solving as your future self would, right? How would the person who is promoted say, how would that person respond to this question? And so I want to offer you that this is something like problem solving. Something like this is something that we work on within coaching, and we can get started right away. Okay. Anonymous says, thank you. Lots of helpful information. Love the point about a promotion being in your control. Curious, your thoughts on when to know if it's worth sticking out and working toward a promotion at a current company versus looking elsewhere, moving to a different company. So your question, curious your thoughts on when to know if it's worth sticking out and working toward a promotion at a current company versus looking elsewhere, moving to a different company. So this is about like, I want to offer you that the answer to the decision that you make for your career, for your growth, is inside you. Right? So you're when you ask that question, you're like, maybe there is an answer outside of me that helps me make a decision. Right? And so I want to offer, you want to think about ultimately what is the result that I want to have in my career? Is it um, uh, is it having the wherewithal to uh, what am I trying to say? Let me think about this for a minute here. I guess the short answer is ultimately you get to decide based on the end result that you want to have. right? You want to be able to weigh all of your options and then um, think about from a bigger perspective, like what is the biggest area of growth for me? What is the area of growth for me? Like, what is the result that I want to have ultimately, like 5, 10 years from now, from a bigger horizon? And in order for me to have that result, what are the decisions that I want to be making now in the short term? So it requires you to think both big, broad, and from there, reconsidering your options here. And so that is step number 2, right? You want to decide for the result that you want to have. So let me just quickly go back to that diagram. Okay. So, right? So for you, like Anonymous, you want to be thinking about like, yeah, I have different options. I could end up here, I could end up there, but ultimately, who is that future self who has the result that she wants? How is she feeling about herself? Like, and if I supported her, if this is the result that I ultimately wanted, right? What would be the best next logical step? And so I can't answer that for you. And in coaching, what we do is I help you uncover all of the things, all of the thoughts, all of the options that you're weighing so that you make the best decision for the result that you most want and that most serves your growth. Okay. Thank you. Someone says you are awesome. Okay, Nicole shares, our deepest fear is not that we are inadequate. Our deepest fear is that we are powerful beyond measure. It is our light, not our darkness, that most frightens us. A quote by Marianne Williamson: playing small does not serve the world. Okay. Okay. All right. So again, I want to offer, if you get asked sticky questions and you don't know how to answer, it's about thinking beyond your current perspective. It's about thinking from the person who has made this promotion happen, right? And feeling what it's like to be in her shoes, and thinking about the current situation from her perspective so that you have a bigger perspective. You have more options, more choices in how you navigate the conversation that you are in right now. And so I want to offer, these questions that you have, these questions are what we can cover, what we can address inside the coaching program. So if you want to take this work further, if you want to build belief in your values so that no matter what your manager says about your salary, about your work, that you are able to stand firm in your belief in the value you bring and in your potential, so that you're not just like, what's the right, not blindsided, you're not taken aback by what they say and you don't know what to say. You're able to stay inside the conversation and respond from a place of self-confidence, from believing in the value, believing in the potential that you bring, that you have, right? And so that you can advocate for yourself and respond from a place of like gracefully assertive, right? You're not have to be hostile in the conversation, but you can stand firm and have integrity as a leader because you're honoring commitment to yourself. So these are all the skills that I help you build and implement in my coaching program. So if this is what you want, I invite you to book your consult today. This is where you go. You go to calendly.com/JamieLee/ consult. Or if you check your inbox, you should have gotten an email from me with the link to book your consult. And we will meet for 60 minutes. We'll have a one-on-one conversation. I will guide you through the intake, and I will help you come up, and I'll help you and offer you a custom coaching plan so you know exactly how you can implement this 5-step process to your specific situation. All right. Thank you. Okay, so somebody asked, what advice do you have for women who have trouble controlling their emotional reaction, getting tearful in a difficult conversation? So we're talking about emotional agency, right? We're talking about how do we manage our emotions. So my advice to you is to give yourself time before the conversation to allow to have the to I can't speak. I'm trying to speak too many words at once. Okay, slow down. Give yourself time before the conversation to process whatever emotion that comes up, right? Whatever emotion that is coming up inside the conversation was there before, but it's being like triggered, right? So you want to give yourself some time beforehand to allow whatever is there to come up, the thoughts and the emotions to come up, and allow yourself to process them in the body so that you can get to a place of more calm, more resilient, more peaceful, more feeling in control when you go into that conversation. So I hope that helps. Yeah. Okay. So that's part of like generating emotional resilience um, in this process, right? And that's also something that I help my clients build, the capacity for emotional resilience. Okay. So again, I invite you to book your consult today. Go to calendly.com/JamieLee/consult, or email me directly, or check your inbox. You have that link in your inbox to book your consult today. All right. Thank you, everyone. I will talk to you soon. Bye.